This is All Figured Out. I'm Andrea Barr. I'm a career coach for parents, a mom of two, and I absolutely believe that you can continue to grow personally and professionally while protecting family time. We're about to figure out this work, life, and parenting stuff out together. Erika Latta.
Erika Latta.
Erika Latta. Welcome to the All Figured Out podcast.
So happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I'm going to be honest. I have felt nervous about this episode.
That makes two of us.
I feel
Why?
nervous because you have such an incredible story and I want to do it justice. As someone who loves to tell a story with integrity, I want to do you right by helping you tell this story. And so firstly, I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of your storytelling journey here today.
Yeah.
You
honored.
are a real inspiration of what you have overcome in your life, where you are today as a mom in what somebody might call an unconventional way.
Yeah.
At the age of ish,
Yeah.
midlife. We'll
52.
say.
No, let's own it. It's 52. I love it.
It's beautiful.
No, I love it. I love being 52.
You've been a mom for over a year.
Just had a year now. Yeah.
And you're a mom to an 11-year-old
Yeah.
at the age of 52.
Yeah.
And you said your beautiful husband, Pete, has a preteen and a menopausal lady.
Yeah, he's got it from both sides. She's going in and I'm going out. I'm like, what soul contract did you make that you invited yourself into that sort of hell? Let's just call it that. So
You know what?
He's doing it well. He's doing it really well.
But spice of life, my friend. The spice of life.
Yeah.
You're keeping things interesting. I'm
Very
sure.
interesting.
And when you guys are at your best, you're probably at your bestest of the best.
Yeah, it's been really amazing having Shakira come into our life. It's been a great year.
Let us tell the story of how you even got there. Take us back to the United States of America.
Yes.
Way back when Erika was a wee child. Even before that, you were a twinkle in your parents' eyes.
Yeah.
You had 20-something-year-old parents who got together, got married, had you.
Mm-hmm.
And your father goes off to Vietnam.
Yeah, my biological father was in Vietnam.
For the war, let's clarify.
For the war, yeah.
Yes, that old thing.
Yeah, my mom and dad actually met at a rodeo, and they were underage. My grandparents had to sign for them to get married. And it was actually my dad that was underage. My mom was 18. And he was orphaned. So he was himself, I wouldn't say institutionalized, but in care. And so my mom and him, they met at a rodeo. And as the story goes, my grandparents had to sign for them to get married. And the wedding picture, my mom is 4'8" and 85 pounds. Yes.
4'8"
and 85 pounds. Tiny, tiny little thing.
Little human.
Yeah, little human. Yeah. So she, And my dad served in Vietnam. And I was created in Dana Beach, California, which is really cool. And then born, we're from Texas originally. The family's all from Texas. So that's how that got started.
So did your parents have you, and then your dad went off to Vietnam?
Yeah, I think there was like going back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But my father got into some trouble while he was there, unfortunately. And as a common story, actually, he came back from Vietnam as a heroin addict. First time he had ever tried drugs, but it was available. And so, it took our family life into a different direction.
So sorry.
Yeah, and then he became incarcerated. So he went AWOL. from the military, and then
that is leaving without being dismissed.
Correct. Absent without leave is the AWOL. Yeah, that's what that means.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You use that like with my children. I don't even know what it means, right? I'm like, Addie's gone AWOL
you
again.
can make that definition. Yeah, that technically that is the definition.
Addie, you are absent without leave.
Yes. Get back here.
Okay. AWOL. Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal in the U.S. military.
That's a big deal. Yeah, that's a really big deal.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure how long he was incarcerated for, but the involvement with like addiction and drug use led to some really poor choices, which landed him in prison for a majority of my life, actually. And so my mom left him when I was probably just 2. And so, I grew up with a single mom. And my great-grandfather lived with us and supported us there. And then my mom did remarry whenever I was 5 to my stepdad, who is my sister's biological father. And he was dad until I was 16, until they divorced. Yeah, and so, having that being alone for a little while with my mom, her and I were super, super close. I wouldn't say I was the easiest child to manage.
I can't picture that.
Oh, yeah. My mom has a story of one time I told my stepdad, I came into the kitchen and I had this little bag and I'm like, I'm going to grandma's. It's either him or me. I was already making decisions at that young age. So
no, she didn't.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah. I was a little spitfire. Still am, but So there was a lot of I don't know, insecurities, safeties. I mean, my mom, she was 21 when she had me. Imagine living, with a husband with addiction.
No.
Being that young and having a child, the resources were just kind of lacking there, and so she did the best that she could with us. And I'm really, really proud of my mom. Yeah, she's also
she's a survivor.
Yeah, she's a survivor. Yeah, she's also a veteran. She joined the military when I was 11. So Shakira's age. And I remember very vividly her having the conversation with me, telling me that she had taken this job and then it was going to move us all around the world. And I was actually quite excited about it. We lived in Amarillo, Texas. We lived in a trailer, very, low to mid-level income family. And so I was excited about what's out there. Yeah. And so her first assignment, she'd gone off to military training or to basic training. And when she came back, we were assigned to Germany. And that was so exciting. But before that happened, it was really tough for my mom and my stepdad, my dad. My mom was the breadwinner. And so my dad was following her, around the world. And really looking back, there was always issues with the conversations or the arguments were about money. So there's, sensitivity around that. And I really feel looking back as an adult woman, now married, have my own child, I think my dad felt really emasculated, not being the provider, the breadwinner, especially a white American male from the deep South.
In the 80s or whenever that was.
Yeah, in the 80s. And my mom did really well. She really excelled in the military. She won all the awards that she could. She was, everybody's favorite. And so, that really catapulted. It was a big change for all of us. Yeah. And I would say a very pivotal moment. My parents did get divorced not shortly into that scenario. But it was a very pivotal moment for me.
And for her decision, I think you had shared with me offline that decision was spurred by her saying, okay, I would really like something to change here for our family. And she was in her 30s, I understand?
Yeah, that's right. My mom was 34. She just had my sister.
Which is ancient back then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For a woman to pivot a career in her 30s. I think that, from my understanding, that's pretty unheard of. That's very bold.
Yeah, she was 34. My sister was 6 months old and she left for basic training. And at that time, basic training, I believe, was 8 weeks or 12 weeks. So for 3 months, she was without us. going to basic training, but really to like start a different life for us. And so, yeah, it was very pivotal. And I don't think you would see that. Not in today's time. It's a different thing that we would see.
Yeah. But she really made a huge, bold choice. And you would say enlist, right?
Yeah.
She enlisted.
Yeah.
To enlist with 2 young children, there's inherent risk in that because you don't know politically.
In what way?
I guess politically, you don't know what's happening. Would it mean that she would maybe be sent overseas? Would she have to be, right? Like she's in like...
Yeah.
Am I speaking about this correctly?
Absolutely. Yeah. There wasn't a war going on at that time.
But who knew?
But I do remember what kind of was a catalyst of this is my aunt, my mom's sister. She had joined the military and she was stationed in Germany. And my parents had won a trip on TV.
What?
Yeah. Won a trip to go to Germany.
No.
This is the universe doing your magic. And they won the trip and they went to Germany to visit my aunt. And that's when my parents came back and my mom decided that she was going to join the military because she saw that my aunt got out of Texas, out of the situation that we were in, that we were all in, right? That there was another way to like live your life. And so my mom, she raised her hand. I think my dad had tried to go back in the military, but wasn't able to for physical reasons or something. Yeah. And so my mom was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so it really was to like get us out of there. And then I remember at the time they won the trip, it was when America was bombing Lebanon, when Gaddafi was going on. And I remember them going to the trip and me being terrified of terrorism at that age, at 11 or 12. This is already like starting to penetrate, my thoughts and stuff. But yeah, I totally forgot about that since you asked. Yeah. So that was the controversy or the political environment at the time.
The landscape.
Yeah.
And when you say to get out and like there's a bigger world, are we talking from like mainly from a financial perspective, like having the stability of the military behind you, that paycheck coming in? Is that kind of the getting out that you speak of?
Yeah. I mean, our life was so different. If we took a family vacation, it was maybe to the next state. It would never be, our family vacations weren't getting on a plane and going, to Mexico or anything. It was maybe to the next, we'd go visit cousins in a different town in Texas. So our world was pretty small, and that could be by economic means for sure. But we only read about places that people would like travel to.
Okay. Yeah. So it was also getting you out in the world. Seeing, having a more worldly perspective, and that your mom
more worldly perspective
valued that, especially having gone to visit Germany.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah, that was a catalyst for my mom or for my family to do that.
Yeah.
And she saw my cousins were my age as well at the same time, and she saw the benefit that it had there.
Yeah.
But also the security that the military provided, right? Housing, paycheck, your family could be together. There would be times of like separation, but it was kind of like taking a risk, but with a big security net, safety net.
Yes.
And also most of the family was military.
Okay.
So it was my grandfather's, my grandma or my aunt was military. So it was kind of a thing that we did, but it wasn't necessarily the women did that in my family, but my aunt started that.
Wow.
Yeah. And
wow.
then it continued.
Talk about like, we're going to be talking so much today about like the edge of transition and how early that started
significant
in your life,
I would say then that was the point, because then after going, my mom going in the military, I went to 3 different high schools. Like we were traveling, we were bouncing around quite a bit. With the divorce, unfortunately, I was living with my mom in Germany, and I was 16. I was like, I wanted to get back to the States where all my friends were. And with the divorce, it was a bit tumultuous. My mom had began dating. My dad had began dating. So it was just a real whirlwind of all that. So I went back to the States and lived with my grandparents for a little while, bringing the rebellious teen inside me with me. And yeah, so then I lived with my grandparents for probably 2 years. And then there was a death in the family, my great-grandfather. And there were some stories that had come up that were really traumatizing for my family that had come up to me about abuse, sexual abuse and physical abuse. And so it was really hard for my family to take that when it came the story came up. So I left home when I was 17.
The story was related to you?
Related to me, yeah. And so there was a lot of guilt, I think, and shame around that was hard for my mom and for my grandmother because we were in his care, right, when my mom was between my biological father and my stepdad. So I left home. I went and stayed with a close friend, a best friend in high school. And then that's when I joined the military. You know, I knew that I would be safe. I knew that I would have shelter. I knew that I would go see the world. Wow. And so it was a way that I knew how to support myself, how to survive, you know? And so there's a real thread of survival that got me here to this seat today.
Yes. Yeah. And really teetering on that edge of what could have been. Mm-hmm. It just feels so apparent that you were walking this tightrope where you could have very easily, and nobody would have blamed you, right? Had you gone another way, taken another path.
Yeah, it was a very fine line between slipping off on the edge or staying whole.
And I'm so sorry for what you went through. And
you know, it's a really thank you. But it's such a common story. I remember when I was 13, we had some girlfriends and I literally had a slumber party. And we got together, and this was in Georgia, and this topic came up about, sexual abuse. And out of, 10 of us, let's say, that were there, 7 of us had been abused. And so it's a very common thing. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, it's not, it's sad. It's an unfortunate thing that happens.
Can I ask you a question as a mother to mother? And this isn't anything to do with your mother. This is now asking as mother to mother. Yeah. How would you, I can't even utter the words, but protect, knowing that you can't bubble wrap your children, but what do you do to protect Shakira from this? Or how would you maybe go about supporting your daughter if...
Well, I have a very
I can't even say the words.
Yeah, I know. I have a spidey sense. And maybe it's, hypersensitive spidey sense, but I pay attention. You're
also military trained.
Yeah, I can hurt you with my pinky. Yeah, I'm hypersensitized to that. And so I'm always kind of watching. And, we also have a lot of really open dialogue. I need her to be able to come and talk to me and trust me. And so, funny story, she was listening to her headphones. We were folding laundry together, and she's kind of rocking a beat. And so she pulls her headphone back, and I was like, oh, what are you listening to? And she's like, we call it tatering. Her nickname, we've named her as Tater because she loves potatoes, but she was tatering.
Because she loves potatoes.
Yeah, she loves the nickname. And so we call it tatering. She just got stuck. And I'm like, oh, well, it's okay. What is it? And she did not. Little tears started to come up in her eyes. And I was like, okay, Shakira, now I have to know what you're listening to. I need to know. And so I put it on and it was I was like, who is this? Who is this person? It was not even cuss words. It was all the other things, describing body parts and all this kind of stuff. I'm just like, oh.
Songs?
Yes.
Music, yeah.
It was Kanye West. I'm like, Kanye, you're already
Trash.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all went there.
Yeah, we all went there, right?
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. She thought she was in trouble. And I'm like, no, you're not in trouble. Where'd you get it? Spotify. Okay, well, I can't banish her from Spotify. And I'm like, all right, we need to sit down and we need to talk about these words. Do you know what they mean? She's like, kind of. Not really sure. So next thing you know,
every child's worst nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel going back to your question, it's being able to have those conversations with her like that, and just being open and honest and explaining. I really feel and trust that she will come to me and provide, confide in me if something's going on. And yeah, I'm super hypersensitive aware. I mean, we don't have any history of her up until she's coming to live with us. She is very close with her father. They have a very beautiful relationship. But as far as, knowing the ins and outs of her, we're still very much learning. So any advice to moms is just be really open and ask questions and just have that really comfortable, open relationship where there's no discussion off the table.
Yes.
I think that's the important piece.
Yeah. That shame piece is such a fine, talk about edge. That's such a fine line of, and it's not that any parent ever wants to put shame on their kid. It's just that like that the embarrassment. I think embarrassment and shame are quite related. Like I remember being such an embarrassed kid. Like I would just get embarrassed if someone looked at me. Right. You wouldn't believe it now, but like I was shy.
Okay, she's super
didn't
shy.
like to be like laughed at. It was just and so if I ever did get that like embarrassment triggered, I would feel shame. And so it is interesting just to like bring that barrier down to whatever you felt, whatever this happened, in the small moments, not really eliciting that shame response. I wonder if it's that piece of it.
And just going back, my mom, it wasn't that she didn't believe me, but it was very hard for her to accept.
Because this was her grandfather?
This was her grandfather, yeah. And so there was some distance, my mom and I had during that time. But looking back, like it was just very, she wasn't resourced. She was 23 years old at this point.
Jeez.
Like how would you know? And my great grandfather, believe it or not, was a saint. I can even say that as one of his victims. Like he was just a saint of a man.
My God.
He was my best friend. I know. But this is,
it's not the right word, but it's like, weird.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's part of my story. Yeah.
And I hate that it's part of so many people's stories.
It is.
And very quietly. And hey, I mean, I can't. I would have no idea how I would react and if I'd ever want that to be a vocal part of my story.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that, because it's scary to think that there's listeners. The chances that there are listeners listening who have been sexually abused that's crazy, right? That's horrifying.
Yeah.
That's it. There are. Take me into the military.
Oof.
When we were talking before, not to just pivot in a lighthearted way,
let's do it.
But I really appreciate you sharing that. I said to you, I always ask every guest when we're doing an intro call, I say, what do you love to talk about? And we were talking, and it's like nervous system regulation and breath work. But you're like, do you know what people love hearing about? And you like rolled your eyes. You're like, people love the military.
They do.
And I was like, yes, I was hoping you were going to say that. You're like, God, there's something. You're like, I don't think, and you verbatim, you're like, I don't think it's a big deal, but like people seem to like it. Like basic training. I don't even know. So especially being Canadian, where it's a very different, it is a different thing. It's a different way of doing it, different way of whatever. But we watch Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
So we hear.
I fell in the trap and watched a Hollywood movie too. Top Gun. And I told you, the advertising of the F-15 pilots, it's false. That's not what they look like.
I don't want to tell the beautiful listeners, 88% of whom are women who fantasize about.
It's wrong, ladies.
Nobody's fantasizing about Tom Cruise, but his co-conspirators.
Oh, yes,
yes. Especially that latest.
Oh, yeah, that was good. Oh, that was a great movie.
That was a great movie.
Our dog's name is Maverick, by the way, so I am a huge Top Gun fan.
The number of friends I have my girlfriend Kelly, if she's listening, she has a Maverick because she has a pilot husband.
So cool. So cool.
Okay.
Basic training. You want to know
what
about
is basic? Like, I'm not kidding. I don't even know what that means. So you said 8. I've watched things like the FBI training and Quantico and CIA, but like it's different. Okay, military, basic training.
Basic training, military. Basically what they do is they bring this group of people in. You're separated by gender, the women, the men. Essentially what they do is they strip you down and then build you back up.
Oh, God.
You're all uniform. You're all wearing the same clothes. The hair has to be the same. Like everything is the same. And you fall into line. You learn about the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the book of the military. And there are rules.
Oh, I thought you meant like the clothing code of justice.
Yeah. The Uniform Military Code of Justice. But there are rules about your clothes, where the pins need to be. This is the rule book of the military, and this is what you must guide. There's even rules about sex in there.
That sounds very stressful. What are the rules about sex? Like you can't have sex with each other?
Missionary only. Sodomy is a crime.
I'm sorry.
Military.
No. Erika.
Yes. Come on, let's look it up.
Erica,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Outside,
Missionary, from what I believe. Let's Google.
if you're having sex while you're active in the military or on the campus.
So the Uniform Code of Military Justice talks
Bring your mic closer
about,
to you, my love.
talks about sex.
For louder for the audience. No.
It's about your clothes.
No.
Yeah. I promise you, there's something in there about that.
Is this one of those weird things that's just like happens to just still be in there?
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
one
like
of those
the
like old rules.
like
and then
the carriage coming down on a Sunday, you can't be eating ice cream, and like these funny like rules.
Oh gosh.
I don't know. There's funny.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those.
Okay.
But like, let's double check. I know that your
No.
listeners are probably like, what? And they're Googling the hell out of me right now.
So just to clarify, like in the comfort of your own home, or like while you're on a military base, you're only allowed to do missionary
As a military person,
No.
you are supposed to follow the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
at all times.
Uniform Code of Military Justice, yes.
See, that's interesting to me that you're following a code, like a uniform code in your entire life, whether you're on, I don't know,
There's that.
on call
So it's
or
like,
not.
so you've heard of like when people get honorably discharged or
Yes.
dishonorably discharged?
Yes.
These are the rules.
Okay.
But there's rules around your clothing. There's rules around where your ribbons are supposed to be. There's rules around how you're supposed to keep your boots. Like there's all these like different rules that military people are supposed to
Right.
conform to.
And make your bed, I've heard, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Make your bed. I can make a bed. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Air Force UCMJ. Sodomy. There's one about sodomy in
Oh
there.
my gosh. Well, you know what? We're going to put a link to it.
Yeah,
we'll put a link to it.
Perfect.
This is
all right.
important.
And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But when I was in
Wild.
1992, yes, I was shocked by that. So basic training is essentially 6 weeks of training.
Okay.
Getting up very early, exercising, drills, going to class, learning this uniform, this UCMJ, things like that. Yeah. And so you did that for 6 weeks.
Okay. And that is for everybody, regardless of what type of military you're choosing?
So each military branch,
Oh.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. My aunt endearingly calls the Air Force the chair force because
Rude.
well, she's kind of right. She's just jealous. And I know she's going to listen to this. So
Okay.
I know you're jealous and I got this of you, Rosanna.
Hello, Auntie.
Yes, hello. No, so you can oh my.
Yeah. No, well, so are you enlisting to one of the areas of the military?
Each branch has its own like basic training rules. And I think
Okay.
the Navy is 12 weeks, the Air Force is only 6 weeks, the
Okay.
Army was 8 weeks.
So you enlisted to the Air Force?
I enlisted to be in the Air Force.
Okay.
yes.
I thought
Yeah.
it was like doing like a generic like psych degree for your first year and then you get to choose.
No, you choose which branch.
Okay.
Then you go into the military or you
Okay.
go to basic training for
Air
however
Force,
many weeks.
Chair Force.
And then you get your job assignment.
Crazy.
Yeah.
From there, they just are like, this is what you're suited to?
You get a choice. So you take a test called an ASVAB, and it's kind of like where do you specialize in? Where's your capacity at?
Yeah.
There's everything. The military is like self-sufficient, so there's all sorts of things, mechanics. I mean, name it. There's the job there. I was suited for. I could have been a weather person, a fireman, a logistics, supply chain and logistics. I forgot the other. And I tried to go for
Did she
this.
say weather?
Yeah, a weather person.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's basically its own little economy.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Its own hospital, its own commissary, its own everything.
Sanitation?
Probably.
Kind of like Disney World?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it's its whole thing. So yeah. That was like only the first like 3 months of the military that I just described.
And then so you're in logistics, right?
I was in supply chain logistics, yeah. And I was fortunate enough to always be assigned to fighter squadrons. So the first unit was with F-16s, and then that was in Georgia. And I had graduated high school in Georgia, so I was like, didn't join the military to come back and live in Georgia.
What are the chances?
Yeah. So I took an assignment. At the time, it was either Iceland or Korea. So I chose Iceland, and I lived in Iceland for 15 months.
Oh my gosh.
So cool. Super cool. And then after that, I wanted to thaw out a little bit, and I got assigned to Florida. And that was at Eglin Air Force Base in the Panhandle, and that was the F-15 unit. And this particular unit had actually had some MiGs in the...
I'm going to stop you right there. I don't know what that is. Okay, I have seen Top Gun, but I fall asleep a lot in things. So anyways,
Yeah.
MiGs. What does that
Enemy aircraft. Yeah. You shoot
Enemy
down a
aircraft
MiG.
is called a MiG? Why?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't
Okay,
know.
okay.
You'll have to link that and Google that. I'm not really sure.
Okay, wait. So you had, what do you mean? What do you mean you had enemy aircraft?
The unit that I was in was in the war in Iraq.
Oh.
And they had shot down the pilots and they had shot down the MiGs. And I think they got the first MiG of that war, which is a really big deal whenever you're in a F-15 unit. That's like kind of a rite of passage.
Okay. It's so like getting the first gold medal in an Olympic?
Yeah, it was an esteemed unit is basically what I'm trying to say. So, yeah.
My eyes are, if you're watching on YouTube, my eyes are just like, what the holy hell? This is like...
Yeah, it was a really big deal. So, we would take turns going to Saudi Arabia. With other units. And the mission there in Saudi Arabia was to protect the no-fly zone from Saddam Hussein.
Protect the no-fly. So there was a no-fly zone above Saudi?
Above Saudi, yeah. And there was no planes that were allowed to fly in that because they were watching the movement of Saddam Hussein.
Jesus.
Yeah, so you're part of a bigger... One thing that I learned about the military is like, okay, you have your rank, you have your role. You don't know that there's this like bigger piece of pie, but you have a very important piece. And so, just being a supply person, ordering parts for aircraft in the middle of Saudi Arabia, those planes have to fly and they had a mission to do. And so an F-15 protects the U-2, which is a large aircraft that's taking pictures of this no-fly zone. Am I going off here a little bit?
This is so cool. No.
And so the F-15 is protecting this U-2 plane.
They're like these little zippers who are just like, and they're like protecting the big mothership.
They're protecting the big mothership air to air. So let's say a MiG flew in the area. The F-15 would take the MiG down.
Jesus.
And then the F-16s would protect the U-2 from the ground. So if there's any like fire from the ground. So so my little role, my tiny little role was a part of this big mission. It was so much fun being in this community with people. You just knew so many different people you would never, let's say, be friends with in real life. You get thrown into these like very isolated places. There's no alcohol or clubs. I mean, you're 20 years old, right? And so you just build these like really deep relationships with these people that you would have probably never had relationships with otherwise.
From all over America is what you're saying?
All over America, different races, creeds, religions. Like, it was really like a whole kind of rainbow of flavor there,
Because you're kind of pulled down into this uniformity as like, you're not, doesn't matter where you came from. You are part of this team. We're all equal. But there's ranks and everything. But, that's
but generally speaking, yeah.
And how long were you in Saudi for?
I did 3 tours, 3 months each.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then my last tour, I had left Saudi Arabia about, let's say, not more than 48 hours before there was a terrorist bombing that killed 12 people that I worked with. In our barracks. And so
in your barracks, which is where you sleep,
where we slept. Yeah, there was a tanker truck full of dynamite that had tried to make it on base, but was parked around to the back and exploded. Killed 19 people total, 12 people that I knew. One of the young guys I'd actually dated, and so we were not partners at the time that happened. We were friends though, and. Yeah, after that, I was like, you know what? I'm not all about dying for my country.
I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, and so I realized how serious they were. When you're raising your hand and you're 17, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
You probably thought you're invincible.
Yeah, as we all did.
Yeah.
As we all did. And so, I served my time and then after got out and then took the money for school and got my education.
I was asking you this. So we became friends because we have a mutual coach, Kristen Constable, and we were in a peer group together or mastermind. And I remember we were walking to dinner in our retreat. And I was asking you questions about this because I was like, this is so fascinating. So because I'm somebody who, as for a living, talk to people about their careers, the notion, this is so unique in the military that the notion that you have to ask to leave a job, that's very unique.
Yeah.
So in my world, you know what I preach. I'm like, leave the damn job if it's not serving you. No. And you're like, no.
No, you're bound by contract.
That's called AWOL.
Which stands for?
And anywhere but here. No, I don't remember now. Absent without leave.
That's perfect.
Yes,
You got
without
it.
leave. Right. Okay. So how did you, was like a contract up, or how do you leave? How do you leave? How'd you get out? How'd you get out?
Yeah, so they sign you up in 4-year increments. So you have a contract for 4 years.
Like a lease.
Yeah, like
they're leasing you.
They're leasing you. Yeah, you've committed for 4 years. After the bombing, I only had I can't remember off the top of my head, maybe 6 months left in that contract. And they offered. They were like, "Do you want an early release because of the situation?" And I took that early release. Yeah. But yeah, no, you sign up for 4 years, and if you leave before, you go. Well, we're considered AWOL.
But you can ask for permission if something comes up, or like
no
way.
No, but I mean, people have tricks. You know, there's different ways.
Like they shoot their foot?
Maybe a mental health. There's just different things that people, there are reasons you can leave.
That was really gross of me to say that.
No,
again, I've been watching too many movies.
Yeah, but maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So you took your leave, you took the money, and okay, because the money can only go to education. They're kind of smart about that. It's not like you're just like handing a bunch of cash to a 20-something-year-old.
Right.
They're like, if you would like, now you've earned this fund to use towards education.
It's called the GI Bill, which anybody listening, if any young people out there go in the military and you do not do your GI Bill, it's $100 a month for the first 12 months. And then you get all this like money back. And each year, the military, like think whenever I did it was like, I don't know, 18,000. Last I heard, it's like up to 40,000 that you get. So you only make the 12-month payments of $100, and you get this money back towards your education.
Yeah.
You send them your records. You're going to school. You're enrolled, and they send you a paycheck every month, and it is like so great.
They send you, so they're paying you to go to school as well.
Yeah, I mean they pay for
this.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so how did you? So you got a taste for being away and out. You got out of Texas, let's just say. Yeah. Proverbial, like you got out.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, I'm going to go to school. Like, what did you think was possible for yourself?
Oh, that did not become that was not even a thought in my mind that I could go to school.
Okay.
Until when I was in the military. This is a really cool story. I met Colonel Dick. Colonel Dick was like basically the person who showed me that I was possible. And how did this happen? I was stationed in Iceland. And then one day a big snowstorm happened and my boss assigned us all duties of what we needed to do. And it was my job to remove the snow from the vehicles. Being from Texas, even though I did grow up in snow, I took a shovel to the hoods of the trucks. And so later on we had an inspection where Colonel Dick, the colonel of like the top brass, the top person of the military base come for inspection. And so he's walking around and everything and he sees the scratches on the truck and he bends down and he's like, what happened here? And my boss was very happily willing to say, she did it. Yeah. And so Colonel Dick took a very big interest in me. And so I had to, quote unquote, ride to lunch with him that day because he was like following us. Yeah. But he took an interest. Who are you? Where you're from? What kind of aspirations? And at that time, I wanted to be a flight nurse. It was something that I'd wanted. My grandmother was an RN, and I wanted to be a flight nurse. And he's like, well, are you going to go to college? And I'm like, basically, kids like me don't go to college, like I can't afford that. Like, how does that even like work? And he actually set me up with another officer on base. And they were talking about getting me an appointment or trying to get me an appointment into not the Air Force Academy, but into school. So it was basically a performance review by this other gentleman. And then he wrote a letter stating for me to be accepted into a program. And so it was the first time where somebody actually took interest in me outside of my family or, anything like that and showed me that like, no, it is absolutely possible. So I remember that being the first time that I was ever like, oh, this could be an opportunity for me because the people in my family didn't go to school. If you can't, I think as a young person, if you don't see it, there's not an example there for you, it's really hard to like imagine you being there.
Isn't that interesting? It's just like a message for life too, where it's like, well, I never saw it or felt it or heard it. So it was never registered on my radar. Like as our responsibility as parents, we're so obsessed with what we teach our children, what we consciously instill in them. And I think we forget, like I personally we've been a parent for 5 years, but like I forget that it's like the words we're using in our house and the way we talk to one another and how we share the stories of our own experiences and like, like having our kids see, oh, I saw that or I heard that or I was told I could be anything. Or like my family values adventure and love.
Yeah.
You know, these things that
the imprints that we're leaving and how deep they can actually be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you hear the stories of the kids who are like, I came from nothing. And it almost went the opposite way where my parents were hell bent on me becoming something and then put that pressure. Yeah. Or are like, you know, you can do any, like, you know, we might not have gone to school, but like you can do anything. And not that your parents wouldn't have said that to you and your family wouldn't have instilled, but maybe at that point there just wasn't that blueprint, like you said, for you.
Yeah, there wasn't that blueprint. Actually, when I moved to Canada, I had met a guy. This was 20 years ago. I had met a guy online on hotornot.com. This was pre-Tinder.
And you didn't filter out Canada?
No.
Crazy.
No, and I met this guy online and we talked for a while. Anyway, we started dating. He lives in Montreal. And when I finally decided a year into the relationship, I'd lived all over. So for me to make the move was no brainer.
Yeah.
So I moved to Montreal and my mom was really like, why are you doing that? Why are you going to Canada? Just go back in the military.
Oh.
And I'm like, Mom, there's a war going on right now. Chances of me going to war are absolutely real. But in her mind, she never you know what I mean? Even though we had lived in different countries, we were in the military.
You were safe.
We were safe. So going to a foreign country, even though it's Canada, and we did not know much about Canada because we grew up in the southern part of the U.S., as we do.
Yes.
So it was really scary for her. So her mindset was, or her thing was like, no, like Canada is way too risky. You need to go back into the military.
Wow. So she was like, it is way safer for you to go to a military where there's an active war than to go to...
Because I know it, and I know you'll be safe.
Yes.
Right.
That was the bias. We all have biases. That was her bias.
That was her bias. So as parents, like what are the biases that we're putting on our children? Yeah.
Holy smokes. How fascinating is that? So you get an education.
Get my education.
You get married.
Yeah. Pete, my wonderful husband and I.
Well, no, you got married first too.
No,
right?
No,
oh, no, you didn't
Pete
get
is
married.
my first. Yeah, Pete is my first. My first marriage.
The Montreal man.
Only, yes.
Okay.
The Montreal man dated for 4 years, gave him back to his mama. I was like, okay, we're good.
Okay.
But I fell in love with Canada. Like I decided to stay, and life was just a bit easier on this side of the border.
Wow.
You know, I grew up in the South, and I just did not have any desire to like go back to that area. I didn't relate. I didn't align. And so fast forward, I ended up getting my master's degree, which is, again, this little girl from Texas raised in a trailer. It was not something that was ever on my radar. And that's what I love about life so much is like you turn these corners and there's like this other opportunities. And that's what I want to instill in my clients too, is that life doesn't just stop in this role. Life doesn't just stop here. This isn't like forever. Mm-hmm. There's always opportunity just around the corner, you know? And so got my master's. I remember manifesting saying, I'm going to meet my husband in my master's program. And I did. 10 years younger than me.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Pete's you got your MRS in addition to your MBA?
I did. I got my MRS, yeah. So Pete and I started dating after the program.
Wow.
Yeah, and then...
very good of you.
Yeah.
Very professional.
Well, he had a girlfriend, so I had a massive crush on him. I just avoided him like the plague.
Yes.
Yeah. But we started dating after the program. And I mean... As I mentioned, I'm 10 years older than Pete. And so when we first started dating, I mean, that was a very serious topic is like, look, you know, natural children is probably not in our future. Mm-hmm. Are you open? And Pete has always been open to non-traditional ways, you know? And so we didn't know what our family was going to look like, but we knew that we wanted to expand. And so we went down the rabbit holes. We looked at surrogacy. We looked at adoption. We looked at, all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And the universe, again, just doing her special things. Pete and I had landed on fostering. And we put in our foster application. And a couple of days later, Pete was talking to his boss, who owns some property just in West Van. and I was talking about a situation that he knew of a young girl, 11, who was in a situation with her father. They were just in financial bind. He's a bit older and has an advanced illness. And so we met her, and I just couldn't. She grabbed me. Like, I just couldn't get her out of my mind. And, I had fertility issues, I had miscarriage. We did actually sign with a surrogacy agency before, but then I realized I don't want to have an infant at 50. So it was a very tumultuous struggle. A very hard part of a chapter in my life is about becoming a mom. It wasn't easy. But I reconciled that God, the universe, would bring the child to me that I'm supposed to have. And he has.
Unbelievable. I can't even
Yeah, he has.
It's just so unbelievable that you would put yourself in the world and sign a document and say, let's do this. Let us be, quote unquote, foster parents. And you end up in a custodial situation where you have a daughter who's not in foster care. She has landed in a beautiful family with a father and just a beautiful relationship with him, like you said. And you found each other.
Yeah, we found each other. People always say, they're like, oh, she's so lucky. And I'm like, oh, man, do you know how lucky we are? And I always feel, I don't know if it's guilt, but when people say, oh, wow, you and Peter just like have done the most amazing thing. And it's like, it feels so, what she's done for us is like indescribable. The healing that I'm having, the reparenting of myself, the conversations that we have, the innocence, the determination. I can't slow down now. I can't, I have these set of eyes on me. And I want to be that strong person for her. I want to be that voice for her. I want her to advocate for herself. Like all these amazing things that I guess I always looked for in a role.
Like a career role?
Like a career role.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's been challenging. Sure. It's been tough. And she's a teenage girl, a preteen. She's going to be 13 this year, actually. But yeah, it's brought up things in ways that I would have never, ever expected. We've talked about this a few times and knowing you. And the one thing that's just striking me only just now is the fact that how lucky you both are to have found each other in this stage of life where you have the openness and you're humble, and you were saying like, oh, I want to show her how to be strong and show her like almost these like perfect traits of yours. Right.
I think how cool it is that like you also are in this like confident stage of life where you're like, I'm going to show you the messy.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the menopause. Like,
let's
laugh about it, right? Like
we do, yeah.
Versus that like, I'm going to be this like the perfectionism that comes with having an infant in your young 30s or 20s or whatever, when you're like in this, I'm still like kind of in this phase of life where I'm like Googling everything to do perfectly versus I wonder if there's this phase that you're in now, especially given we haven't even talked about your career, but this insane career in the corporate world that you've had, in hitting burnout and coming out of it and finding breath work and finding your voice and being like, cool, I can now parent you as a fully grown adult. Not these little baby adults the rest of us are when we put these kids. And all of us are always like, why did they give us this child to bring home from the hospital?
Yeah. I don't feel a comparison. I mean, I feel comparison in a different way, of like not being a real mom. There's a little bit that's but
you're a real human.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is different, which is interesting. Yeah. And we were talking about your mom just being so young. Mm-hmm. And that's also a different, like, she was 30 years younger than you. She became a parent 30 years earlier than you.
Right. Oh my God. Me at 21 had a parent, that would just been a disaster.
And look what she's done. Look who she created. This incredible woman.
Yeah.
who lives to tell this like insane tale of these MIGs and like these like AWOLs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's a lot of love and forgiveness in my heart with my mom. Yeah, we've come a long way together. She's definitely one of my superheroes for sure. And she's this sweet little Southern lady. She went skydiving at 72.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
And did she ever grow or is she still 4'8"?
No, she's still 4'8". She might be 4'7" by now. I'm not sure. But yeah, having Shakira in our house has definitely changed the dynamic of who we are. Like just brought such a deeper, richer like layer to us. Yeah.
And going over into the career that you had, not going into like every detail for time's sake, but knowing that you hit a point, you did the old corporate, not to diminish your experience, but you did that old corporate dance where you hustled, you grinded it out. You had injury in there, concussion, leave of absence, and you're coming out of this, and your final hurrah only recently was being laid off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Months after becoming a mother. Can you just take us to that snapshot moment of what that period of life was like for you?
Yeah, we Shakira started living with us December 3rd. And I remember almost instantly this other level of layer of hustle that came over me as like, I don't want to be seen as one of those moms that can't handle her job, can't handle her role, always is like, oh, the kid's sick and I have to leave. Like I didn't, even though my husband would have been completely supportive, and that is no shame to any moms out there.
I know.
I just did not realize, nobody told me that was going to be a part of the package. Yep. But it was so real. And
none of us wanted to be her. I'm gonna call it up. None of us wanted to be.
Thank you for saying that, because I feel bad saying it. Yeah,
we all did. I've talked to so many women who are high achievers, high performers in the corporate world, who were sitting next to the mother, judging her. We all did it. We judged her for being a mother, for having huge responsibilities and real illness going around the family, and being like, oh, must be nice to leave early.
Right.
That's a thing. It's a thing. And we all did it. And you can't.
But I was doing it to myself.
And then you did it to yourself because you're like, I'm so aware of how I felt about her that I don't want to be her.
Yeah, I don't want to show up as that. And then, I worked in a male-dominated space. Yes. I've always been in
You were in mining?
I was in the chemical world.
Oh, chemical, yes.
That serves the mining and pulp and paper industry here in North America. And yeah, like you just didn't want to be seen as one of those women. And then I didn't want to be seen to myself as one of those women. And so I was putting this extra layer of like hustle on. And I remember telling Pete in January before I got laid off, I'm like, I want to do this coaching business. Like, it is so important to me. I had, surrounded myself or co-founded women's groups in these male-dominated spaces, and I loved the impact and what it was doing and supporting for these women in these spaces. And I'm like, this is really my passion, really what I want to do. And so I remember in January, I told Pete, I'm like, that's it. I'm giving myself a year. Well, again, the universe doing her thing, which I love to say.
4 months, boom.
Boom. Well, you're not going to do it, Erika. So you're going to get a little kick in the butt out the door. So, I got laid off, which turned out to be the biggest blessing ever. And so it's allowed me this runway and this space to create what I now call the inner edge. And it's all this lived experience that I had through all these many transitions, good and bad, that I want to bring to the corporate world. And, part of my journey and my healing with this is I found breath work after 2 concussions, one very major. I had 2 significant burnouts, both medical leave. And so breath work was a tool that I was able to use that really helped me and grounded me. And it was like, how can I get this into the corporate space? The hustle has got to stop. It's not sustainable. And that's what I've realized is all the things that I've survived got me here in this seat, but I don't have to live that way anymore. I don't think any of us have to live that way anymore. There's this huge collective shift where, the hustle isn't cool and being busy is not a badge of honor, anymore. And so how can I support women who are at the edge and want to transition into, who they really are? I think we had to build ourselves up in these male-dominated spaces to fit in. We had to work harder and play to participate and, all these things. And leadership has been taught one way, or we feel that it's like it has to look one way, but it absolutely doesn't. And I'm seeing this work beautifully unfold with my clients now, where they're coming in and leading with their real, true values, their real, authentic selves, doing a lot of identity work, getting in alignment with themselves, and just killing it. And being the leaders that they want to be. And so that's my work. That's the passion, my passion that I have. Mm-hmm. Shakira fuels that. My husband fuels that, the experience and all that. So
I could just see, even though you are now speaking to the perfect clientele for you, I can just imagine little Erika, like a little miniature Erika on your shoulder in all those transitions of your life, whispering to like, keep going. Keep going. And there must have been a little Erika on your shoulder.
There was,
telling you, because you did keep going.
Yeah.
And you pushed through and created something out of it. And as you were talking about that too, the former marketer in me is like, see, this is why you're not buying the person in this snapshot of time. You're buying the person, you're hiring a coach like yourself who has like so much experience that is like I'm not even talking about the personal experience, like the fact that you have a military background and like that discipline, and you've been in so many male-dominated industries, and even the work you were doing, you were in sales, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So sales within a the sales is a male-dominated whatever that role.
Yeah.
In a male-dominated industry, and a leader in the corporate world, now a leader in a household. It's like there's so many sides of it that just seem so obvious. Yeah. And how did you come to put it all together? How did you know that, like, oh, duh?
Well, I went to, I hired someone to help me through the transition.
Yes.
You can't do this shit alone.
Oh,
Are we allowed to?
Yes.
Great. I love it even more.
Yes.
You can't do this shit on your own. Yeah. You can't. Like, it's just, this is the hustle mentality.
Yeah. Yes,
you can't think harder to come to clarity. That's not how it works.
No.
Why not take someone like our, Kristen?
Yes.
And like, she has the formula. She has it figured out. I mean, I could beat myself up and try to go figure it out myself, but why would I?
I know.
When there's somebody that I know who I can trust, I believe in her, I know she's done the thing herself, get somebody that can like guide you. It doesn't have to be even leading, but like walking you step by step through this. You don't have to do these things alone.
No. Even if they're a couple steps ahead of you, it's like, I don't know, it's like parenting. Like you ask the person who's 6 months ahead of you what's going on. Yeah. The person who's, you don't have to ask like Dr. Becky, who's this like world-renowned parent, and you are world-renowned. No, but I would liken you to Dr. Becky, but but the person who's walked in your steps and is maybe a few steps ahead of you. And it doesn't have to be paid. I think you should hire Erika.
Absolutely.
But it's also like
no, but I think it's also there's like some shame, or like if I ask for help, then it means that I don't know what I'm doing, or are they going to judge me?
Yes.
This thing that we do as women.
Yeah.
Especially high performers. Yeah. We feel like we have to. We got to be the smartest, strongest person in the room, and that's just not how it's done anymore. You're going to burn. It's not sustainable.
No. So given, I'm really obsessed with the notion of, I don't even know how to ask this. Given context, given landscapes of like the fact that there are male-dominated industries, there's a lot of stuff that we can change, but we can't change it right away.
Right.
So somebody's listening and they're like, okay, I'm thinking of my girlfriend Amanda who listens. She's has always been in a male-dominated industry, and she is a sales leader. Okay. She's freaking amazing at what she does.
Awesome.
She crushes it. Given that we can't change the landscape today, we can all advocate to make things better down the line. What could we tell Amanda and anyone else listening who's in this, who's a mother, she's a mother of 3.
Yeah.
How can she continue to perform at a high level without burning out while maintaining a regulated nervous system? Like, is there actually a way?
Yeah, I mean, well, Amanda and I need to talk. I think what gets us in trouble in those situations is we think of what their expectations are. And I'm not talking KPIs, but just like going back
Like
to
Amanda's expectations?
No, Amanda is thinking,
Okay.
I know what they want from me, and I have to meet that criteria.
Okay.
Right?
Well, and it's a number though, right? In sales.
Yeah, okay, but it's a number, but it's
a
also
freaking number.
how you pitch.
Okay.
How you're selling, the angle you're going at. I don't know how many times I went into a room and they were mansplaining to me how to sell it, but they can't sell the way that I can sell.
Right.
Because I am a woman, because I have a different skill set. And Amanda, experiences. You come from a different space. Sell it the way that you can sell it, and only you can sell it. So where I found like the burnout was, I was always trying to match what they wanted me to do, what the expectation is that they want to. And let's not pick on the men here, okay? Like it's just meeting that expectation or thinking of what their expectation is. Okay. Do it your way. Because that's what's going to get you the sell.
That's your inner edge.
That's you have to do it your way. When you start working in other frameworks, that's where we lead to burnout. And this whole leadership or how we're supposed to be in these male-dominated, that framework was not built for us.
No. Well, also the Industrial Revolution, the way we work 9 to 5, none of that. We all know it doesn't actually work. But hey, this is the context we're in. This is the hand we have all been dealt. And I think it can be beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so as we layer in the regulated nervous system, what we talk about this on the podcast quite a bit, but what do you mean by that? Especially, I love that you're coming at it as someone who's a freaking high performer. How, without layering on more shoulds, more like this is the exact blueprint, like, things like breath work or taking pauses. Like how could, say, Amanda, we're picking on you. Yeah. How can Amanda be regulating her nervous system amidst a big, full life? Yeah. Watching her energy management, not the time management. It's the energy management. You have to we kind of look at work-life balance. That's like a, very buzzy term, but we label it as like competing priorities. Why are we competing our work life with our personal lives? It's one big piece of it's one big pie, and we tend to cut it off. That only that piece of pie gets, and then later if there's anything left, I will have the rest of that pie. But it's really we're making those two functions or those two compete against each other, or that's how we're treating it. It's not how it's supposed to be. So I'd watch energy management over time management is a big thing. What fills your cup? Not to be cliche, but you have to have these breaks. And time is your asset. It's your biggest asset. Protect it like it is the last thing on earth. Right. And that is having the focus time that you have for work, having the focus time that you have for your family. Yes. And without a doubt, the most important is having the focus time for yourself. Yes. It's critical. Yes. And I find that when I was in my hustle and my burnout, I was only focused on the work. How do you have that powerful, we know a lot of this comes down to communication. How do you have a powerful conversation in that high performance culture where you can say, I need to protect my time boundaries here? But how do you do it in a way that maybe that hustler who's on the the receiving end of this conversation, so say a manager who's work harder, work harder, work harder. How do you have that conversation so they can hear it? And that boundary conversation. Because you've probably been in this. Yeah, I have. You've been in those conversations. Yeah, it's a boundary conversation. And boundaries feel really uncomfortable when you start it. And how can you how can you soften it? I think it's very annoying when people are so I'm having a boundary conversation with you and no. And it's always really people say, I don't know. To be honest, yes. I've okay. Once I've just encountered a situation where the person was clearly heard Brene Brown talking or something, and then it was very
I have this
scripted, and it felt very inauthentic to them. And then they were and these are the personal reasons why I want this raise, for instance. And it's that's not the way to negotiate anything. So how do you people just never talk about the how. How do you talk about boundaries? So I have a very specific example of this. Twice in my career, I got, and it happened more than twice, but specifically twice where I snapped back, I got cut off and describing or explaining my position, and I immediately got cut off. And it's happened numerous times. Yes. It's a common thing. But twice in my career, I snapped back. Texas came out. Texas came out. And it was right at the time that Kamala had her debate with Mike Pence. Remember the famous line she said, I'm not done talking? Well, that was just sitting back in my pocket ready to be played. And I got cut off and I used that line.
I'm not done talking. It felt so great in the moment, but instantly, like I had like such like remorse. Like I just was like, oh, because what happened was I walked into that meeting already triggered. I already knew what was going to happen. I was already dysregulated. So that was just waiting to come out. That line followed me to my performance review the next January, like 9 months later. So they're still talking about it. So it's like I reacted.
But you weren't done talking.
I wasn't.
But it was a fact.
Yeah, it was a fact. But it came from a very dysregulated place.
Well, and it maybe didn't sound like your voice.
I was sounding really bitchy. Like
But is that...
So that happened that time. Yeah. And then a second time, I got cut off much later in my career. And I just went off on the guy.
Ooh,
like went off.
No way.
And again, I felt really good. But then I see in the Zoom room, it made people feel very uncomfortable. And then I started to spiral like after it. Why I'm saying all this is like, you know these moments are going to happen. You know the boundary conversation is going to come up. Practice it in your mind before it ever happens. Because it's not an if, it's a when. I know that doesn't sound like any magic, pill or magic potion, but honestly, practice the conversation in your mind before you have it.
Wait, but I like this though. I know you're saying it doesn't sound profound. It does sound profound to me because I think my issue with this like overhype on boundaries, maintaining boundaries is just when people are again doing it in a way, like it sounds like the issue wasn't that you were protecting your boundary of like, don't fucking cut me off.
Yeah.
That's important, but it sounds like you were like, oh, you know what? I think that Erika would actually say that in a more powerful way, a more confident way.
Yeah.
With a voice.
Hold on, can I just finish my thought? I just would like to finish my thought. You know, not the...
Yeah. Hey, and it could be stern.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to finish my thought.
Yeah. Perfect.
And hey.
Gorgeous little cute smile there with that. No, it looks...
But that's Erika.
But it looks professional too.
Yes.
Whereas coming across like, I'm not done talking, or this is my boundary...
Yeah.
We have to also take it, and this is a big thing about the work we do, is like, we can't change them.
No.
We can only change.
But why not?
I know.
I'm kidding.
I know. And, you can get into DEI, and it's like, really taking a huge, pivot, pendulum has swung to the other side in the U.S. And I talked to a lot of women down there. You're not going to change them from a 1 to a 10.
No.
But if you can change them from a 1 to a 3.
So that you can stomach their presence. And if not,
we're not going to.
No.
It's going to take time.
Yes.
It's going to take time.
Yes.
Micro things, micro moments are bigger. And like going back to the boundary conversation, practicing it, not this is my boundary, stop, but having a real way of protecting yourself that sounds professional and sounds grounded and doesn't come from a very triggered red Texas state.
Well, you make a good point that like you knew going into that meeting that you were going, most of these situations in life, we actually know are going to come up at some point. Very seldom do you really have that situation where like, some creep is taking a photo of your kid at the playground and you're like, go mama bear on them. Sure, whatever. Go mama bear.
Yeah.
But when you're walking into that meeting that is like the annoying status meeting that you get really triggered by, like that's a good point. Like a lot of these things you can actually prepare for in your mind.
What I should have done is I should have had the conversation with my boss prior to that meeting, just so that I could get like a deeper understanding. Really what happened is I wanted to just be heard.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be heard.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be heard.
Yes.
And so if that, Amanda, any of the Amandas out there listening, if that's what it is, with the boundaries and stuff, you need to be heard.
Yes.
And there's ways of having that conversation. Maybe it's not fully in the room with everyone at the table.
Yes.
But there are ways of doing. How would you want to be approached with somebody's boundary?
Yeah, good point. Really good point. Erika, everyone's going to just need a taste of They're going to need you in their life, especially these high performers we have listening. If people want to get in touch with you, how may they do that?
Erika Latta, LATTA.com.
Erika with a K.
Erika with a K. That's right. ERIKA, Latta.com.
And you are a life leadership coach for high-performing women, specifically in male-dominated industries, but I'm sure everything in between.
Yeah, and also for you brave men out there, too. I've had some men reach out who are interested in the work as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, people who want to lead in a different way.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your openness, your vulnerability, for being here.
Absolutely.
You're amazing. I'm so happy to know you.
You are a rock star. Thank you so much.